You feel this nervousness on the phone there?
Sir, I've been trying to make an urgent phone call up there.
Well, I don't think it's something I want to do on an overseas phone.
You gotta make some phone calls. Hang up the phone. Prank caller.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Packernet After Dark. This is the call-in show, the Packernet Podcast Network. If you'd like to call in, if you'd like to participate in the show, please feel free to do so. The phone number here is 608-501-0718. New callers go to the front of the line. I think we're back, ladies and gentlemen. I believe we're back. I don't know. After about a week of hell trying to get this whole thing figured out, I believe Spotify is back. I believe iTunes is back. I think YouTube is working. I don't know. Got to check that still. Somebody said Pandora's not working. I don't know. I don't know what to tell you. I really don't. But I think we're back. So we're going to do this. And so we're going to get to the calls. So a couple things. I did start recording this podcast the other day. I'm not going to go through it. I feel like every day I'm complaining about technical issues, so I'm not going to get it. But I say that to say some of the calls I did yesterday, and so when I go to my voicemail, it's, I should be going to Randy in Minnesota, but I answered calls, and I don't remember how far back it goes, and I don't want to replay calls. I'm pretty sure we did Jamie from Janesville, but I could be wrong. I'm going to start with snacks. I'm going to say that I answered 2 calls. And so, again, if I skipped your call, and I'm going to, before that was Omar, Jamie from Janesville, Jersey Mike, Kyle from Madison, Uncle Rico. If I'm skipping you guys, I'm sorry. But let's start with snacks, and hopefully I'm not repeating this call.
So I didn't get to listen to the second half at all, but kind of rehashing it together and looking at highlights. Looks like it was kind of a grind, but we'll take it.
Yeah.
16-10, I don't mind. Just get us in a mark in the left side of the column, and let's move on.
Yeah, dude.
And dude, did you see a buddy of mine sent me a text or a tweet or I don't know whatever it is, video.
Whatever those things are.
On that third down, and I think it was the first drive in the second quarter. We were at like the 47 or whatever. It was third down and 10, and I think Malik scrambled for like 3 yards. But Myers threw up on the ball. I mean, there's like video out there of him doing it. It's crazy. And then he went out and threw like a really good block. Like, how badass is that? Even though I'm not the biggest Josh Myers fan, that's something. I think even LaFleur talked about it after. Anyway, W, I'll take it. Take care, my man.
Yeah, so funny thing, if you saw that video on Twitter, look on the bottom left. I don't even know how people do that, by the way. How do you share a video and it just shows like who the video is from on the bottom left? Every time if I like retweet something, it just retweets their whole video and like their whole tweet so I can see all their text and everything else. How do you send a video and then just like, what do you tag somebody? I have no idea. I don't know. I don't even know how that works. But anyways, check on the bottom left, because whenever I saw that, Barstool, whatever, if you look, it says Packers Total Access. So Clayton is the guy that kind of, I don't know if he saw it first and like clipped it or what. I have no idea. But that thing went all kinds of crazy on social media. And I think that's a big part of the reason why we found it. Interestingly enough, though, I just found this out. Somebody went back and did like a film review. So, my understanding is like many others, we saw that clip and it's like, yeah, he puked on the ball, gave it to Malik. Malik was supposed to throw it, he didn't, and then he read it up. The guy did the film review, and he throws up, hands the ball to Malik, and Malik hands it off. And I'm like, wait a minute. Wait, that's not right. I was like, wait, so was it that he threw up and then I was on the second play? So it was like the second play of puke? Or like, what are we doing here? So essentially, he throws up, hands the ball to Malik, they hand off, they're playing in puke, it's a good time. Get back to the, the huddle, he just looks miserable, like, I'm sorry about that, guys, whatever. Gets back to the line of scrimmage, pukes again, a second time. On the ball, hands it to Malik, the whole play that we saw. So that was the second time he did it in a row, apparently. And I think after that, because that was, I think, third down, he got a chance to go to the sideline, friggin' figure it out. And then I heard, I don't remember who it was. This is a while ago. Maybe it's not true. I don't know. somebody else on our offensive line also threw up. It just wasn't on the field. I think he came off the field and started puking. So, I mean, these guys were working. It was hot on that day, and it's very rare for an offensive line to put in that amount of work. The physical exertion was out of control. So, yeah, he was feeling it, man. Also, you mentioned, like, not as huge fan of of Josh Myers and whatnot, which I think most of us are kind of at least iffy. I was somewhat of a defender before last year, kind of similar to A.J. Dillon. I liked him, and then last year was like, oh, this is ugly. Yesterday was a little bit of a bounce-back day. Not for everybody, but there were a couple guys where it's like, I just don't know. Like Jair, he's been on the outs with a lot of people, less with me, but I'm slow to these things. Guys that I end up saying, okay, I've had enough. Usually the rest of the fan base has been off on them for a long time, like Quay Walker or whatever. Like I just officially hit my limit, and I said I can't do this anymore, and everyone's more or less like, well, welcome to the freaking party. But anyways, Jair had a great day. Josh Myers, great day, which is great because, it's like, okay, I'm hoping for some redemption here. I'm hoping for that bounce back from Josh Myers. And it's one game, but I saw that old Josh Myers, it's like the run block isn't great. Pass blocking was fantastic. It was like an 85. It was really high. So that was exciting. And then like Elton Jenkins, I think, had his second good day of the year. So that's 2 in a row out of 2. So it's kind of a whole bounce back for him because he's been kind of iffy to me. Rasheed Walker had a real bad day week 1. Really good day, like a 90 pass blocking grade this past week. I think run blocking wasn't great again, but it is what it is. I'm not going to be greedy. If you can, pass block, I will accept it. So yeah, there's a lot of redemption. Now we just need Kenny and Rashawn and a few other guys. Quay, if he wants to, it's not redemption. It's just start being good for the first time ever, more or less. But yeah, we need Kenny and Rashawn and a few other guys to remind us that they're still good at football because it's getting bleak at this point. Rashawn had a decent week 1. Week 2 was real ugly to the point where it's like you look at his season so far, it really is indefensible. I mean, there's no looking at that and going, no, he's still an elite player. I'm not saying he's not an elite player. I'm saying this is not the performance of an elite player. That's where we're at right now. But it's early, whatever. I'm not trying to sound alarms. I'm just trying to praise a couple people. That's all, no big deal. Oh my Lord, hold freaking on. Jeez. All right, I'm back. Jeez Louise.
From Eau Claire. Watched a bunch of the games today. Or followed along with a bunch of the games. Definitely was kind of pleasantly surprised at how the Packers were able to do with Malik Willis. I called in earlier this week and I was a bit concerned and skeptical that they would be able to do this and pull it off, but good for Matt LaFleur and good for Malik Willis and Josh Jacobs and man, Tucker Kraft. He looks amazing. He's really turned out to be something good. So yeah, I'm really encouraged by what I saw. Defense obviously played way better than in week 1. Probably a bit of a weaker offense that they're defending. Anthony Richardson it kind of reminds me a bit of Cam Newton, where he's, obviously extremely good athlete and can, is capable of any throw, but just the accuracy is a little bit wild. So anyways, I'm watching the Bears right now, and boy, oh boy, do they look bad.
Yeah.
And their defense looks fine, but Caleb Williams just looks like he's just a fish out of water. Does not look comfortable at all. Wild accuracy, scrambling around, looking like he's just completely overwhelmed. So anyways, I enjoyed that the Lions lost today. I imagine Texans will beat the Bears. The only surprise is the Vikings. They've looked pretty good so far, especially against the 49ers. So we'll see if they actually become one of the better teams in our division. But yeah, and then we'll just see how long it takes for Jordan Love to get back on the field. But yeah, go Pack, go.
Yeah, a lot of ground to cover there, but start off with Malik Willis. I think even though I've been saying, what a great job he did, I still think I'm underselling him, and I talk about that a lot on tomorrow's podcast from a statistical standpoint. Again, it was limited snaps and limited opportunities, but even with that, what he did was really incredible. Again, I'm not going to give away everything I talk about tomorrow, but I think he deserves more praise than he wasn't asked to do much, but he did what he was supposed to do, and he didn't make mistakes, so good job. Like, that's true, but I don't think that's a fair amount of praise for what he actually was able to accomplish on the football field. So very, very impressed with Malik Willis. Now, what is my confidence level that that's just what he is and what he will be, and that we're not going to see a bad version of Malik? It's tough to say because I don't think he's a fully developed quarterback. I don't think he's just great now. There is still, he has a skill set. I think Matt LaFleur has done a great job of keeping him within that skill set, and so there's potential that he'll be able to keep up that level of play to some degree, especially with a heavy workload on the running backs and everything else. But there's also the potential that, let's just say, next week the Titans are able to take away the running game. Well, now we got to open it up and throw, and that may cause some problems, especially if there's pressure, et cetera, et cetera. It could completely fall off a cliff. But regardless of any of that, what he did in that game really was pretty remarkable. Tucker Kraft is another thing you mentioned. I mean, I'm not all the way there with where the fan base seems to be as far as him being amazing. I think he does a good job. He seems to be a good blocker. I think that's a big asset. I haven't necessarily seen him or even looked at the grades on that necessarily. In fact, let's just pull it up because we already did PFF and I didn't cover it. Yeah, 66 pass block, 61 run block, average, I guess. He's obviously an asset in that column. At least the Packers really like what he's contributing. And then is the thing that I think we all really seem to like about him is that he's a reliable target as a tight end. He's not an elite player. He's not Travis Kelce. He's not any of those guys. He's not a top-end receiver. But he's a good option with sure hands, and he is a violent player. That's my absolute favorite part about him, is if he catches things and doesn't just immediately get hit and has the opportunity to turn and get that frickin' locomotive going, which is what he reminds me of. Like, it's a little bit of build-up speed, but man, if that guy gets a full head of steam going, it is just pure violence in motion. But again, it's more of I like that he seems decent. That's where I'm at with him right now. And there is plenty of room for that to expand and grow, but that's as far as I've kind of gotten with him. Encouraged by the overall performance of the defense. I agree. I think there's a lot of problems. There's still a lot of issues. The defensive line has been terrible all year. Linebackers are a big struggle, aside from the guys that aren't playing. Eric Wilson was fantastic, played 11 snaps. Edgerrin Cooper seems solid. He's not getting any time on the field. In fact, we were told he'd get more snaps. He got less. So I don't know if he went on the field and made a mistake and they pulled him or what, but Quay Walker and McDuffie have been getting all the snaps, and at least as far as their grades are concerned, they're two of the worst linebackers in football right now. And Quay, it's ugly. It's real bad. I know Christian Watson's dad, I saw he was posting on social media saying they put him in the wrong spot. He shouldn't be the Mike. He should be on the outside, which I did notice they did move him. I think toward the end of the game, I noticed he wasn't the Mike anymore, which I found kind of interesting because they've been building that all year, that he's going to be the guy getting the calls in the middle of the huddle and all that. Not that you have to stand there to get the calls. It shouldn't matter, but point is, that's what they've been building this whole time, and now if they're going to make an adjustment, it might be a little bit more complicated, but and maybe that's why Edgerrin didn't play. If Edgerin's supposed to be on the edge and they're like, we got to move Quay because it's not working, maybe he took Edgerin's spot. You know what I mean? I don't know. I'm not really sure how the dynamics of that work, but the results are great. All the nitpicky stuff you look at, the positives are there. I think they're able to generate pressure, maybe not with the front four very easily, but I think Hafley does a good job of dialing up when he wants a pressure, he gets a pressure. The guys coming off the edge look fantastic. As far as, I'm talking edge, like the safety blitzes, the linebacker blitzes coming on the inside, outside, whatever. Hafley, I think, has done a good job. And that was one of the assets of Hafley from the beginning, is he's got some really creative stuff that he does. especially up front. People studying like what he did at BC and Ohio State and everything. The creativity he uses to unleash people and to get them open and all that stuff. Somebody else I saw did a breakdown of the coverages and just how unbelievably complex it was. So he does some cool stuff. I don't know that the execution is where it needs to be quite yet, but it's new. And again, we've had two very mobile quarterbacks, which is going to be kind of a different dynamic. I'm interested to see how guys like Kenny and Rashawn respond, and Preston too. I mean, Preston has really offered very little. I mean, I don't highlight him as much because I don't think as much as expected. I see him as kind of like a baseline, like a decent, solid guy, which he hasn't been. The frustration with Kenny and Rashawn is you guys are paid to be superstars, so, please be that. But we'll see what happens with Will Levis. I mean, clearly not considered a mobile quarterback, so hopefully they can get after it a little better than they have been. Yes, Bears are terrible. I usually don't take this level of confident type of an approach. Usually I'm a little bit more like, well, we'll see. It has been bad. It's encouraging. I feel like I've just seen it too many times, and maybe I'm just overstepping here and Caleb's going to figure it out, but bro, I'm tired of it. I'm so tired of being scared of these guys. It's like I've seen this movie so many times, and they just keep getting worse. Like, nobody wanted Trubisky. Let me just run through the timeline. Bears fans really didn't want Trubisky. They were kind of disappointed. And then he didn't really perform very well in the preseason or whatever. So there was no real high expectation. That's why this whole thing started kind of with Justin Fields and not Trubisky. He's not an exciting guy. A lot of Bears fans were not thinking that he was the answer, and certainly he wasn't. And then they got Fields, and Fields is a different animal. Way more athletic ability. His arm talent, I think, is better. I mean, the guy was just unstoppable, and it became one of these things where he's too good to fail. It's like too big to fail, but too good to fail, and some guys are that way. That's why I think Justin got all the hype. I think that's why Caleb gets all the hype. People watch their college tape and say he can't fail. But, Justin Fields gets in, and he's somehow worse than Trubisky. I mean, he offered more with his legs, but as a quarterback, he was clearly worse. So despite getting a better prospect, they somehow went backwards again. And now they get Caleb, who's an even better prospect. He is now a generational prospect. This is significantly worse than what we saw with Justin Fields. It just is. And again, maybe it gets better. I don't know, but this is deteriorating. I feel like I'm just watching the same. It's not a different quarterback. It's the same guy, and he's just getting worse every day. From Trubisky to Fields to Caleb, this has become a nightmare. That performance from Caleb Williams is one of the worst quarterback performances I've ever watched. He threw 3 interceptions in the span of 4, 5, 6 passes? And I don't care if one of them got negated by a penalty. He threw 3 interceptions. 3 times he threw the ball and the other team caught it in a very short period of time. This guy has fallen apart. I mean, week 1 was significantly better than week 2. Now, I believe they're playing the Colts, so they may get a little bit of a reprieve because, again, they don't have a great defense. We just witnessed that. I told you that. This may be a time for them to really step up, but let's not forget, their offensive coordinator is not good. Let's not forget, this is the guy that was in Seattle, and when he left, the Bears fans who had some Bears media sat down with some Seattle guys like Jackson Smith and Jigba and somebody else and said, so tell us about Shane Waldron. What are we getting? And he just sat there, and he, after about 5 seconds, said, is this live? And painful. The Bears are just always doing the wrong things. They hire a defensive head coach, seems to work for the defense, doesn't seem to work for the offense. So you invest in offense, you build an offense, and then you get a defensive guy. And then you just have some castaway offensive coordinator. I don't know why you picked the guy. He's being made fun of left and right, not only because his offense sucks despite having just elite booming talent everywhere. He's got to figure out how to make a generational talent and 3 number 1 wide receivers work. And if that fails, you look like the biggest piece of crap in the world. And there's now video of him on the sideline shaking with his call sheet and then biting his nails. The guy's a wreck. And honestly, this is everything that I want because Caleb is talented. And the potential for him to be an unbelievably good quarterback is there. It's in there somewhere. It's inside. And I think if that guy sat for 2-3 years, you would see maybe the next Pat Mahomes potentially with him. If that dude sat in Green Bay under Matt LaFleur's tutelage, and especially sat behind a talented quarterback, whether that's Rodgers or even Love, if that guy came to Green Bay and sat for 3 years, I think he'd be an incredible football player. Maybe not. I mean, some guys, they just don't have it upstairs. They don't have the mental processor. I kind of think that's the way it is with Justin Fields. I don't think it matters how many years he gets to play. He just can't get there. Anyways, some guys, that's not the case. For some guys, I think their confidence is wrecked. And right now, his confidence is beyond wrecked. He's been the greatest thing anybody has ever seen, the most cocky, arrogant guy ever, because he just can't be stopped. He walks around with so much confidence and so much swagger. He's never been punched in the mouth like this before. And right now, he is the laughingstock of the NFL. Anyways, I can't get on the Bears without going on a tirade. Hopeful for Jordan to get back relatively soon. I saw, and look, nobody knows. Nobody knows. Could be this week. Like I said, I'm less than 50% that he comes back this week. Starting next week, it gets to be a little bit more likely. From what I'm hearing from almost everybody, week 5 is kind of the target date. A lot of people are not accepting that. They're saying, somebody even showed me, and I tried to look into it. It seems pretty legit. MCL strains, the history of them over the last 5 years, like 1 to 2 weeks is like the maximum. In fact, I don't think anybody went longer than 2 weeks. And I'm thinking, well, maybe it's possible that every single one of them was a grade 1 strain, but that doesn't seem super likely. So that was the one thing that kind of got me going, oh, whoa, maybe. You know what I mean? I don't know. Very weird situation to have lots of, maybe like a dozen MCL sprains, and every single one of them, I think, was 1 to 2 weeks. And I even went to the robot and I was like, give me an example of somebody that was more than 2 weeks. And there were some, but I think it was like Ben Roethlisberger was 3 weeks or something like that. Like, what? Like Ben, they think that there was more issues involved. It was MCL sprain plus other stuff. So I don't know. That one kind of got me thinking, like, that seems interesting to me, I guess. So I'm a little bit more optimistic than I was. But again, according to what everybody else is saying, it's not the case. So whatever. Who knows? We'll see. We'll be keeping an eye out. In fact, tomorrow's a big day as far as getting some medicals and whatnot. So we will see the designation. That's going to be pretty big, not just for him, but for some other people. There were some other injuries. Hoping that everybody's okay, especially Marshawn Lloyd. That guy needs to get on the field. I mean, he can't be hurt every time he touches a football. All right, why don't we take a break? We'll come back. I'm going to try to be a little less rambly. Sorry about that. I'm all just freaking jacked up. My daughter brought me coffee. She wanted to learn how to do it so she could just bring me coffee. And I was like, sure, you can show me. So then she grabs the biggest mug in the world, and I'm like, well, if it's a big mug, you want to go up to like 16, cups or 16, whatever it is. I can't think. And so then she did it, and now I'm drinking that whole thing, and I'm a little jacked up. So we'll take a break. We'll hear from Randy in Minnesota.
Hi, Ryan. It's Randy from Minnesota.
What's up, man?
Wow, what a day, huh? What a game. I hope this starts to have people actually look at Coach LaFleur as this guy's a darn good coach. And the game plan he came...
it's sorry to interrupt. It's funny you say that, because I was just thinking about this today. I heard some people saying that, like, this guy needs to start getting respect. This guy needs to start getting respect. And the thing is, I was kind of giving up on that idea that he was ever really going to get any respect. I mean, he obviously got more respect once Love took over. I thought that was going to be the moment. I thought when Love took over and started playing well, that was when everyone would go, oh, okay, Matt's really good. I think it went from Matt's not good. Like, for some reason, the notion seems to be Matt LaFleur is not a good coach, but he's being dragged around by Aaron Rodgers. And I think the big part of it is, again, this is where people make these assumptions and they can't let go of them, and it makes me insane. Nobody is willing to say, maybe my presupposition is wrong. Makes me freaking crazy. Anyways, everybody said Aaron Rodgers is elite, period. We know that because he did it a couple times, and that can never change. Apparently, that's how some people think. The Packers aren't playing real well. Well, that's the fault of the GM and the head coach. It's not Rodgers. It's not the supporting cast. It's none of that. It can't be Rodgers. He's elite. It's everything else. And Matt LaFleur got lumped into that. Well, Rodgers leaves, and now all of a sudden Gutekunst is one of the premier GMs in football, and Matt LaFleur is one of the premier head coaches. Go figure. It's amazing how those two never changed. It's just the perception because their presupposition was wrong to begin with. Because in their mind, it's impossible for the Packers to get better when Rodgers leaves. Packers get better when Rodgers leaves, and I don't mean to trash Rodgers. I'm just saying. And now all of a sudden it's like, oh, let's recalculate. Oh, turns out these guys are really good. Yeah, dude, that's what I've been saying. Anyways, the crazy thing is Matt LaFleur has never gotten more respect than right now. I mean, I'm talking national media. I was seeing some stuff. There was somebody talked about it, and it was some coach. I don't even know exactly who he was. He was showing some of the plays, like real in depth, of what Matt LaFleur did and how unbelievably creative it was. And then I saw Mina Kimes comment on it, and like Matt LaFleur really deserves a lot of. The point is, the hilarious part of this is he did a great job with Rodgers. He never got credit. Back-to-back MVP for Rodgers, who was clearly declining. He never got credit for that. In fact, he got blamed for the lack of Super Bowls or whatever for Rodgers, which is freaking ridiculous. Rodgers leaves. We're told this team is cooked. They're done. 1980s Packers all over again. They make it to the playoffs. Jordan Love looks like a wizard. And, of course, the play calling was actually quite creative and looked really good, and it all worked. Matt LaFleur got more credit, but it went from, okay, you're out of the basement to you're one of the good head coaches, but you're maybe top five-ish. It took Malik Willis for everybody to realize or finally give in and say, all right, dude, you know what? Maybe we've been freaking stupid this entire time, and Matt LaFleur's an absolute wizard. Maybe that's where we're at. So I don't know where this gets to, but I genuinely believe that it took Malik Willis for everybody to recognize it. Now, the problem is if Malik Willis goes out and lays an egg next week, that'll give them the excuse that everybody seems to want to just take that credit away from him. But I really think I think we're plugged in here. And I'll tell you what, I mean, it's going to take a lot more work. It shouldn't be this hard for Matt LaFleur to get the recognition he deserves, get some Coach of the Year recognition. But here's, I think, what the path is. Number one, Malik Willis plays again, has another good day. Then Love comes back. Maybe he won't be back, but let's just say he does. Love comes back. Love starts playing well again. Packers are on top. They're a top team in the playoffs, and they surge. Now, I'm not going to say win the Super Bowl necessarily, but if you can carve just that path, I think that there's almost no denying it. To be able to do what you did, to have your star quarterback go down, go out, get Malik Willis, and in 2.5 weeks, get him ready to go out and play. He goes out and plays at a high level to keep you in the hunt in not only the NFC but in the NFL, and then get your quarterback back, get him back in case, and run a completely new offense with two different people, get back in your other offense, get everybody else up to speed with that offense, implement plan after plan with this new offense against a new opponent, and make it work, and win games, and get to the playoffs, and be at, like, if you're not going to give him Coach of the Year after a year like that, it's just never going to happen.
Came up with and stuck to it. Amazing. I was just impressed as heck.
Yeah.
As how they won that game. Was it just me, or did it seem like they cleaned up the whole penalty thing about halfway through the second quarter? I don't really remember any penalties in the second half. I could be wrong.
A lot less than some other. I mean, I don't know, man. I'm sick to death of the penalties in the NFL right now, and I don't know if it's just sloppy play from players in the first 2 weeks, which there's been a lot of, because there are penalties I'm watching, like in the Bears game was unbelievable. But it got to the point where I just said, like, I just don't care. Like, let them hold. I can't do this anymore. But, yeah, I don't know. Maybe we need to get to the point where you cannot throw that flag unless it's flagrant. You know what I mean? I mean, it's just, it's out of control. It's absolutely out of control.
But, and I just got done listening this morning to your live pod on the Bears game.
Mm-hmm.
Dude, you got some serious issues with the Bears. That when you start laughing at them, it is hilarious. I mean, it's just good fun. Enjoyed it a lot. Thanks. One other thing I thought might be interesting to keep track of.
That was the best compliment I ever got. Listening to you talk about the Bears, and man, you got issues. You are right.
Is how many drives the Bears have during the year and how many punts they have during the year.
Yep.
And see what kind of ratio that is, since Caleb had to bump his gums about, well, you're not going to need to punt much. Just be interested to follow that and see that ratio. Anyway, go Pack, go. Have a good day. Bye.
Want to see if I saved it. It doesn't look like I did. I'm so stupid. So somebody more or less did this. You maybe have seen it. They've got the these memes out there kind of just making fun of them. Like, you're not going to have to punt. And the Bears have punted, I think, more than any team in the NFL. There was something else about, I think there was more punts than Caleb had, like, completed passes or something like that. I mean, it's just, and I, somewhere on my profile, I've tweeted so much stuff, it's probably buried so far, but something to the effect of, like, you know, this is something that needs to be tracked. So we're of the same mind on that one, and we do need to keep track of that. That would be an interesting metric just in general. Here's the one I was talking about. Oh, that was the John Boy talking about the puke thing. It would be an interesting metric just in general in terms of, like, punt percentage, like what percentage of drives end in a punt. And specifically in the case of trying to follow, I'm speaking slowly because I'm scrolling and trying to find this thing, follow the Bears and track them. Just all the different metrics, like how many punts to this ratio, punts to that ratio. I bet there's some funny stuff in there. Come on, let me find the stupid thing. Let's just search generally here. So Bleacher Report Gridiron said, when Caleb was drafted, he texted punter Torrey Taylor he wouldn't have to punt much. So just a little background for those that aren't psychopaths like me and are obsessed with the Bears. So the Bears drafted Caleb number 1. They had like 4 picks in the draft, and I think their 4th pick in the 4th round, if I'm not mistaken, was a punter, which is crazy. But he's like this supposedly generational punter, whatever. He actually does look like he's doing a really good job. But anyways, really smart considering how much they were punting. Caleb Williams texted him and said, you're not going to punt too much here, was the text message. It's displayed here. And then it says, Bears punted 6 times on Sunday versus the Titans. Oh, here we go. Here's a great metric from DraftKings. Only the Broncos, Panthers, and Bears have more punt yards than yards gained on offense. Here's one for you. After Caleb Williams sent this text message, same one, the Bears have so far punted on 11 of 16 possessions. 11 of 16. Hilariously, that doesn't include, or, you know, of the 16, that includes the interceptions. Think about that. 16 possessions, 11 punts, 2 I don't even know if there's like fumbles or whatever. 2 picks. That brings it up to 13 of 16. What does that even mean? Somebody else said historically bad with all the alarm signals and everything. After the the punt much thing, Bears have already punted 12 times in 2 games. This has not worked out for Kayla. It's just I wish I could say I feel sorry for the Bears, because this is just, there's a curse somewhere. Remember that episode of The Office where there's a curse and they're trying to figure out what the curse is? I think it was after he hit Meredith with the car and everything was going wrong. He's like, we got to figure out what the curse is. And then it turns out like she had rabies and they caught it because they brought her in for the broken pelvis. So then he was all happy about it. And curse is broken. They're cursed. Something's going on. They got to find something and burn something. I don't exactly know what, but we got to figure it out.
Ryan, what's up? Kyle from Madison. Victory Monday today. Hey, I just wanted to say, I don't dislike the guy, but I've had my issues with Josh Myers' play specifically lately.
Yeah.
And then he goes out and totally redeems himself by vomiting on the football and basically ensuring that he will be part of the 1265 lore for the rest of forever.
Yep.
Because between that and then ESPN in there like 11 o'clock, whatever Sports Center's after the band Pell.
Sure.
Maybe they did it on his show too. I don't know. They were doing like the super zoom of Myers puking on the ball.
Why?
And then you can just see him when he gets the ball on the snap. He's like, looks down on it. He's like, oh no.
I think my favorite was like the defensive lineman kind of doing a glance. Like, you're trying to be super intense and like, oh, get him. And then there's like that moment of like, oh, what is that, dude? That's freaking, never mind. I'm going to get him. I'm trying not to be distracted by the fact that this dude just puked basically on like the guy next to me's fingers. Like, that's crazy. I don't know why we got to do a super zoom. Like, I get the point from far enough away. But yeah, dude, that's going to be one of those things in 20 years, you know, we'll be talking like, who's that guy? Remember that guy that like puked on the ball or something? Who was that? That was crazy, right?
Well, he can't throw it because there's just stuff on it. So he runs on a third down for like 4. But between that and LaFleur's press conference, that is an instant classic.
It is
right there. As far as the Bears, my man.
Hold on, one more thing, and yes, I can't wait to delve in. During that breakdown, I forgot to mention when he's showing the whole play and everything else, got some cool angles, does some zoom stuff, not necessarily on the puke, but one of the things that he saw was he took the snap and immediately like put his hand on the ball and then put his hand back to like dry his hand off on his towel because his hand was wet from the puke. It's like the nastiest freaking thing. It's like, oh, geez, like get him off the field. Throw that football in the garbage and let's like, you know, let's figure this out here. I can't do this.
On you, I heard you did live stream it.
Yeah.
Which I didn't check out, but
makes me
I'm
sad.
Sure you noticed how, oh man, I mean, they're going to be blitzing the hell out of it for the rest of this year until the Bears so they can stop it.
Right.
And that guy is going to not be on the field too long.
Right.
If they keep having wide open blitzes.
And that's the thing. Like, what are you going to do? This is a question for the coaches. I hope his name is Shane Waldron. I think so. I might be confusing him. This is a Shane Waldron issue. Like, here's the situation. You got a guy that can't handle this right now. Maybe someday he will. Maybe someday he's going to be an elite quarterback. Right now, he can't process the game fast enough to handle blitzes. This is no different than what we saw with Jordan Love against the Chiefs. He was not ready to handle it. The Chiefs knew that. They blitzed like crazy, and it worked. He didn't look very good. He got a little better toward the end, but that was the whole point of it. And that's what they do. That's what they do with Levis. That's what they're doing with all the rookies. They're blitzing the crap out of them until they can prove that they can beat it. And here's the thing. They tried to do that to Malik too, but guess what? Matt LaFleur stepped in. There's too much motion. There's too much crazy stuff. There's too many options out here that are going to leave you susceptible. So you try it, we hurt you with it. Right? It's like, you know, you got an animal or something that tries to bite you, you pop him in the nose. Tries to bite you, pop him, and eventually he realizes, you know what? Probably shouldn't bite that dude. Same thing. They're blitzing. You got to pop him in the nose. Caleb isn't capable of hitting him in the nose, so you got to come up with something. You got to figure something out. You got to get some motion. You got to get some crazy stuff going on to let them realize, like, we got to back off a little bit. We got to slow down. Until then, they're just going to keep coming. And if your whole thing is, I don't know, man, I'm just going to run my offense like everybody else does. I'm just going to read this book that I was handed. This tells me how to play football. It's over. Like, it's over. The formula is simple. Blitz Caleb, get pressure, he's cooked.
Like that. So, my goodness, was that something to behold last night
that was
as
good.
well. So, all in all, this is a pretty excellent Monday.
Yeah, so good.
Because, you knew I knew this is what it was going to look like. I'm not saying Williams is not going to be good ever, but you can feel the Chicago hype machine in overdrive, and then he's just out there getting. And that guy took some shots yesterday. Man.
That was rough.
Anyway.
Dude has his jersey like ripped off. And to make it worse, usually those are the cool plays. You escape a blitz and your jersey gets torn. Yeah. And then he's doing Caleb stuff. Like, this is what he does. This is what I do, son. I run and I throw across my body down the field and I get a 70-yard touchdown. Bam. Instead, he throws a pick because it's the NFL. Rough, dude. Rough. Should have just let you play these last 3 seconds, but rough.
Happy Victory Monday. Enjoy it. Peace.
Yes, sir. I'm excited. Now, probably will not be doing a hate stream this week. Like I said on the stream, I only intend to do hate streams on games where I fully expect the Bears to get the crap beat out of them. The Colts are trash. And with the Bears defense, I think they have a better defense than the Packers right now. And you saw what the Packers did to the Colts. This might be a little bit of a redemption game for the Bears. I'll have to reassess my thoughts. I got to look into it a little closer, but I'm not doing this. I'm not going to sit there and watch a Bears game on a live stream when it's just not when it's not funny. You know, I want to watch him play good defenses at least and get his teeth kicked in and laugh. Got to do it for something. Anyways, let's take a break. Final break. We'll come back and listen to Mr. Thomas Austin.
Well, as time winds down on week 2 of the NFL with one game left, being the Falcons and the Eagles, I got a question.
Okay.
In your personal opinion, which teams right now are overachieving? And by this, I mean teams
Vikings.
that are undefeated and or 1-1, but you know as well as I do that they won't be holding on to this momentum all the way to the end of the season. Which teams right now are riding high, but are soon going to be making a huge tumble, a fall? On the flip side of that.
One sec. Let's take a look real quick at where we're at. So the Bills are 2-0. I mean, obviously the Bills are going to do what they do. They're going to look like a powerhouse, and then they're going to start to falter, and they're going to get their teeth kicked in the postseason. Pittsburgh Steelers are 2-0. That's fake. It's 100% fake. That ain't going to be a thing. Houston Texans are 2-0. Chiefs are 2-0. I would love to sit here right now and tell you that's fake because legitimately Pat Mahomes is not playing good football. Like, he's just not. Unfortunately, the team has done enough for him to be carried, along with the help of the refs, obviously. And by the time Pat's going to start playing better, it ain't going to matter. So if he continues playing like this, there's going to be an issue, but he won't. It's a trap. It's a trap set for people like me to look at like the deeper analytics of things and go, ooh, he's not playing well. And that's like a little in, like, oh, I bet they're going to fall off and nobody sees it, but it's coming. And it's their way of messing with me and being like, yeah, I got you, didn't I? So I'm not falling for that. I think Kansas City's going to keep going. Chargers, I'm not a believer in 2-0 for the Chargers. Chargers have been rough for a while, and then they gave away all their receivers. I mean, I think they're a pretty good running team right now. I think they suck at football, so I'm just not buying it. Minnesota 2-0, I'm not buying it. I got to look into them a little bit and see what's going on. But the one thing I did check right away tomorrow, like I just got to take a peek. It's not what we're doing, but I want to take a peek. I need to know that Darnold did not do what he did week 1 again, and he did not. Now, you could say he did if you look at the stats and everything else, but as far as the PFF grade goes, he went from like a 90 to I think it was a 69. So you could round it up to a 70, but I will not do that. He dropped to the 60s. That is classic Sam Darnold. Now, I don't know what happened in this game. I don't know why the 49ers fell apart. There's one other thing that I saw in there where it was like the most stacked boxes was against the 49ers, and I was like, oh, maybe freaking Minnesota just figured out the formula. They loaded up the box, said you're not running against us, forced Purdy to throw, couldn't handle it. I don't know. I don't know what happened. But Darnold ain't the dude, okay? And Minnesota's not going to be able to ride this out. They're probably a better team than we thought. Darnold to be okay enough, especially with one of the best wide receivers in football and a defense that seems to be putting it together. It's kind of like the Bears if the Bears had a functioning offense, right? But they're not like 2-0 going to dominate the division thing. Likewise, you could probably look at Detroit and say, I don't think they're going to stay that garbage. I hope they do. I mean, I would happily take that trade-off at this point. Minnesota is kind of back a little bit. Not better than the Packers, but like a better team. And Detroit's back in the dumpster fire garbage universe that they belong in. I would be completely fine with that. I just don't think that's going to be a thing. Saints Bucks don't feel right. I mean, nobody in the NFC South deserves to be undefeated. Saints are playing on fire, but there's no way they stay that hot. Buccaneers, I'm happy for them. Baker deserves more credit, but again, do they belong in the tier with like the Buffalo Bills, Kansas City Chiefs? No, they don't. Same with Seattle. I mean, they're decent team, but no. I'm happy that they're ahead of the 49ers. That's really what matters.
Teams are starting off a little rocky that you can see and know in the heart of hearts who will be making a miraculous comeback to be fighting for their chance to be either in the wild card or heck, even fighting for their top spot in their respective division. Sure. Who right now is overachieving? Who right now is underachieving? And which teams do you think are going to even out as the season goes on? Bye.
Ravens are an obvious answer. They're 0-2. I don't know that the Bengals are as obvious. It's hilarious the Steelers and Browns are ahead of the Bengals and Ravens. I don't know what universe we're living in right now. But yeah, I think Baltimore's kind of an easy one. Not saying they're going to be a great team necessarily, but they're just, in my opinion, too talented to stay at the bottom. Jacksonville at 0-2. Not that, there's something going on in Jacksonville. I don't know what. I know that they're getting made fun of left and right again. I haven't really focused in on what's going on. Sounds like Trevor's struggling. A lot of people struggling. I don't know. But even more so than that, I mean, the Colts and Titans are such dog crap that even though Houston probably outpaces everybody, Jacksonville will, I think, be the clear number 2 in the division. Aside from that, I don't know. I would say the Rams, but again, I had kind of mentioned early on, I just don't really get it with the Rams. A lot of people are like, watch out, they're a real sleeper team. Maybe they're better than Seattle, but I mean, Arizona looks fantastic right now. The 49ers, I don't know, man. I hope the 49ers suck. I think the Ravens make the most sense as far as just a team that's seemingly way down. That that they're not a team that should be 0-2 would be my thoughts. Season's early, plenty of time.
Hey, Kyle again with a follow-up point here.
What's up?
I've been hearing, and I just started listening to your Victory Monday podcast here, so maybe you'll get into it a little bit more. But I've been seeing a lot of comments about the pass rush the first 2 weeks, and I agree that it's been just okay. What I was going to say is, though, I think maybe we need to just hold judgment for a few more weeks, considering, I think the game plan was a heck of a lot different than it's going to be for these first 2 quarterbacks, considering how mobile they were. And by and large, I thought the defense did a very good job limiting Richardson and Hurts, far better than what historically the Packers defenses have done with uber mobile quarterbacks like that. And so I just think, let's just hold off a second on passing, pass rush judgment, because I don't think these guys have been asked to attack the quarterback. I think they've been asked to contain the quarterback in certain ways. And if you watch, whether it's Van Ness or Gary, the way that they would normally, maybe take an inside move and try to turn that tackle around and cut inside, they've been instead shooting upfield and trying to contain or force him a certain direction. So let's just relax. I'm not saying you, but just in general, let's all just kind of take a breath on our pass rush or lack thereof, because, we get, was it Levis that's coming in here? I guess I don't know how mobile he is. I'm assuming less mobile than the first 2 quarterbacks. But as we get some more typical pocket passers in here, I'll be interested to see how that defensive line chooses to rush the quarterback. I think we might see some things that will make us a little more happy. So let's just hold off, maybe for a couple more weeks, and just see how Hafley, has these guys. Because I just think they've been pretty assignment sure. It seems like the coaching staff's at least very happy with the assignment sureness of their performances. So maybe we should just take a breath and let's just see when the game plan is actually to attack the quarterback and get them down. Then let's see how effective they are. That's all I want to say. All right, go Pack.
Yeah, and that's basically been my entire contention. It's been a little rough. Again, I'm making a distinction between the pass rushers and the pass rush. I think the pass rush has been decent. I'm impressed with the ability to get the pressures in creative and unique ways. But as far as like the mano-a-mano stuff, Rashawn, Preston, all that stuff, I don't think it's been very good. But yeah, you kind of split down the middle. I think overall it's kind of working here. But yeah, that is my entire contention is, there's, first of all, it's first 2 weeks, it's a little early. Second of all, there's been a ton of contain. You're really worried about the quarterbacks and their mobility. You're really worried about the running backs. I think you go up against the Tennessee Titans and the plan, like we just talked about, shifts to the Caleb Williams plan, which is unleash the dogs. This guy can't handle pressure. Get somebody in his face 24/7. Now they're going to try to slow that down some way. But in my opinion, this is your chance to prove that you guys are better than what the stat sheet is saying, which is not very flattering as far as the production, the pass rush production from our pass rushers, interior and exterior. So We'll see. I mean, I'm excited about it. I really am. I mean, I'm a little nervous about our offense against their defense right now without having really looked into it. I kind of was with the Colts too because everyone talked it up, and then I looked at them like, they kind of suck. But aside from that, I mean, and we're on the road, not at home, so it's a little bit more difficult there. But I am excited about our offense against their our defense against their offense. I think that'll be a fun one.
Hey, sorry for the call back again. I totally forgot. 2 points real quick. That Wilson interception was like, I think we need to just take a second and marvel in how beautiful that interception was. I mean, that's as good
fantastic.
Of a pick as you're going to see. And it starts with as good of coverage as you're going to see on, I believe it was Pittman. But that coverage, I mean, that's like when when you're playing like on Steam or something where they give you the early access video game and your character is like polygon border is like merging into something else, where you can like see in a floor or something. He was occupying the same digital space, as
right.
Pittman in that play, and then he just kind of comes out of him and takes that ball away. That was freaking wild. Loved it. Also, I just wanted to say that with yesterday's win, the Green Bay Packers become the first team in NFL history with 800 wins. Let's think about that for a second, right? I mean, that's what? That's 16 years. If you played, a game a week nearly, you'd win every weekend for 16 years to get 800.
Crazy.
To get 800 wins. So I think we need to acknowledge the excellence of the organization. That is just mind-blowing. All right. Peace.
Yeah, the history of it is absolutely fantastic. The other funny thing is, I forget the exact stat. I think it was something like the Bears were the first, I think, to 700 or something like that. And I think they were way in front of everybody. And the bottom, long story short, obviously the Packers just flew past them because the Bears have been so terrible. It's like Bears are at like 700, Packers are at like 620. And, by the time now it's like Bears are at 740 and Packers are at 800 or something. It's like, it's just the Bears are just a team that keeps on giving, especially with the contrast of the Packers. Just the unrelenting success. It was Barstool Big Cat, and he was talking with his other guys, a lot of Bears fans, and he was just ticked, like he's like, anybody that puts on that Packers jersey, it doesn't matter. He's a good quarterback. Like, I'm so sick of it. It's bull crap. Funny because it's true. I don't know what to tell you.
Hi, Ryan. Randy from Minnesota.
What's up?
I just wanted to pipe in my little 2 cents worth. It is so refreshing to see Malik Willis and how appreciative he is of the opportunity he was given and how he performed on his own, but how much he really enjoyed, and you could just feel what that game meant to him. Yeah. And that, my goodness, that's just refreshing. It's good to see from the players who go through hard times, who go through the tough times and come back. I don't know if he's ever going to be a quote unquote starting quarterback in the league, but by gosh, it is so good to see someone who gets rewarded for sticking in there and finally gets with a team that believes in him.
Yep.
Anyway, I'm still hoping Jordan Love is back next week, but I feel a whole lot safer about where we're at with our quarterbacks. That's all I got to say. Go Pack, go. Good night.
Yeah, and it's an interesting situation with Malik because, pretty much everybody thought he was going to be a first rounder. Right? I mean, I'm saying that flippantly, not actually everybody, but a lot of people did. Daniel Jeremiah down the line, the vast consensus was that he was going to be a first round pick. He ended up falling to the third. Titans needed a quarterback. It was not a good quarterback draft. I think everybody acknowledged that. Malik was seen as the one guy that was talented, but even he was not, like a 1-1 guy, not first overall. So they took a flyer on him when they felt that it was a good value, which is third. They probably went in with relative low confidence, but the main point here is that they needed a starter immediately. And they pushed him out there, and he just couldn't do it. And it was kind of a disaster, and they said, they ended up with a high pick, and they said, you know what? We're taking another swing, and they went with Malik Willis. At that point, or not Malik Willis, Will Levis. At that point, Malik Willis was done. It was over. The experiment was done. It's just a matter of time. We're just looking for an excuse to get rid of the guy. That was it. They did not draft him with the intention of developing him, which is obviously what he needed. The Packers brought him over with the full intention of developing him. Now, like you said, it doesn't mean, it's not like anybody that, you can take any piece of crap, just take me and put me on the bench with Matt LaFleur and sit me behind a Hall of Fame quarterback and I'll be great. It's not how it works. Only certain people can do it, but I mean, he seems to me to be the prototypical, like the perfect example of what you're looking for. Just extremely raw tools, exceptional athlete, strong arm, all that stuff. But he's missing a couple components. He needs a lot of time, actually, to sit and learn and be able to kind of process and see if he can slow down the game, because that's really what it is. First, we got to get this game in your head. And it's going to be it's going to be really difficult. Like anything else, like the first time you learn to play a card game. That's what the NFL is like. They just taught you how to play spades, right? And, you're playing with a bunch of people who just don't even think. Like, they're just slapping cards down. And they're all communicating, like, people know what the other people have in their hand. And it's just like, what is going on right now? And you're just, wait, so do I want to put down the 7 or, okay, I'll put, yeah, you're right, I'll put that. You know what I mean? The point is, we got to get it in your head so that you understand it. Then we got to get it to the point where you're one of those people that's just slapping cards down. Just pop, 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 pop. Playing sheep's head. Just slapping them down. Everybody know. I remember my, that was the game up here in Wisconsin with my family. It was sheep's head. My great-grandparents, my grandparents, whatever. And my grandpa had Alzheimer's, and it was very slow. It was a slow progressing thing. So he was, very capable, but it just was slowing down in certain things. And my grandma would get frustrated with it. It was hilarious to me because they'd be teammates, playing across the table from each other. And he put a card down, and she's like, "Don't put that down. You have a 10 in your hand." Stuff like that. Like, I'm sitting there going, "Well, how do you know that? I don't understand." That's what we need to get you to, and maybe you can't get there, but that's the point. And I think it's a good enough analogy because I think a lot of us have been in that case where you're new to a card game or what's the other one? No, it doesn't matter. Similar experience with that too, where people that play it a lot are just so fast, and it's overwhelming and it's intimidating because you're slowing everybody down and you're annoying the crap out of them, and you know that you're not really playing until you're playing the way that they're playing. Oh, cribbage. Cribbage is the one I was thinking of. Just the way that you play and then adding up your hand. 15-2, 15-4, 2 is 6, whatever. Like, just fly, you slap a hand down there like that's 12. And you're sitting there counting like, okay, so so this is 15, and then so 15-2, okay. And people are looking at you like, bro, it's 10, dude. Look at your head, it's 10. Like, I don't know. How do you see? I don't see 10. I see a 2 and an 8 and a jack and a queen. I don't know what you're talking about. But if you play over and over and over and over and over, you get it. And you get to be that one. And Malik's a guy that's just learning the game, and he's got to be that guy. And the cool thing is, again, the Packers are not bringing him in saying you need to start or you're worthless to us. They're bringing him in hoping that he was never going to be in this situation, hoping he was never going to have to start. But again, and this is what was so cool about it, hearing Malik talk about how great it was to be here with guys like with Matt LaFleur, just building confidence in him, saying, we genuinely believe you're going to be that dude. And then to be able to demonstrate it, right? You're going back to the bench, but we showed you what you can do. Now we got to build that in you. So now that you know what you can do, now that you know what you can be, we just got to make sure that we really solidify this thing. So what you did out there was not like a 1 in 10 thing. It's more like a 9 in 10 thing. Like 9 times out of 10, that's what you're getting out of Malik. That's a starting quarterback. And I'm excited. Like, the other thing that it just kind of dawned on me for some stupid reason, you think about backup quarterbacks, they don't mean anything. And I don't mean that to be disrespectful, but it's not like they ever stick around. There's always a hope of development, and they don't reach it. And then if they kind of do, they usually go to another team and they don't do anything there. It is really cool to feel like, we might actually have a guy that can do some stuff, and he might be with us for a long time. Like, just think about it. In 2025, in the preseason, Malik's going to be our guy. And he's going to have an entire year in this offense and in the offseason I mean, as far as like backups in the preseason go, Malik's probably going to be that dude because, you know, there's a good chance that good chance, it's definitive that he's better than several starting quarterbacks right now. Like, I would say he's significantly better than Bryce. I know Bryce is getting benched, but better than Bryce, probably better than Caleb. I bet if you put him in that situation, it would be better. So, yeah, you put him in that sort of backup, like I'm just the number 2 guy role. I don't know, dude. I think he's in a fantastic spot. Anyways, I got to get out of here. You guys have a good rest of your day. I will talk to you later. Have a good one. Bye-bye.
Thank you for hanging out with me at the Packernet podcast. I love you and I miss you and I hope you have a great day. I'm not a stalker, I'm just a friendly person. Have a good day. Bye. 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 I'm just a friendly person. Have a good day. Bye.